Welcome to Friends and Neighbors. I'm Sherry Tatum, your co-host today, and guess what? I have my husband here today. He's going to be my co-host.
Yes, I'm here to give her all the help that she needs. Of course, she won't need a lot of help, but
Because Sandra is in Paris and on a wonderful vacation with her husband and her daughter. So I'm so glad you got to be here with me today. And we're going to, our guest today is awesome. You're going to love Victoria Robertson. And I wonder, Roy, when she sleeps, because she's an author. I have to read this because she's a public speaker. She's a TV personality, former host of a radio show called Real Talk. She also does a podcast now, and she's a highly regarded voice of the pro-life movement for over 2 decades. But she's also the director of external relations of Save the Storks. Can you believe
my question is, why the Storks?
Victoria, really, welcome here with us, but how did it come up? Did you name this Save the Storks yourself?
No. First of all, thank you for having me.
You're
it is always such a privilege to get to share my heart and the work that I'm so blessed to do. The founders, Joe and Ann Baker of Save the Storks, began the organization about, gosh, I guess going on 8 years now. And I believe it was very insightful that they both recognized how much people are all about environmental issues in this country. Let's save the whales, let's save the seals, save the turtle eggs. You know, you're gonna go to jail if you hurt a turtle egg.
Right.
And I'm not knocking any of those things as being bad things, but he knew if he's called it Save the Storks, people would start conversations with him. And I've had that happen with me. My briefcase says Save the Storks. And when I was on an airplane recently, the flight attendant was just raving and telling me how thankful she is that we're out there saving these birds. And she went on and on and on for a couple minutes, holding up the line. And I just let her talk. And then I finally said, actually, that's a great thing. But what we do is we help women and men at the point of decision. And Storks is related. People think about babies, and we save babies from abortion. And then for those moms and dads who don't choose abortion, we help them with the resources. But even for those who do, we also help them with post-abortion counseling. So she looked at me and said, well, I'm pro-choice. Her whole attitude changed. So she was excited about me saving stork birds. But when I told her it was about babies, she wasn't that interested.
Isn't that something?
That's really sad, really sad. But I have also had people stop me in the airports and say, I love what you're doing. I've heard of your organization. It's fantastic. Thank you for all your work. So it goes both ways, but yeah.
Well, okay, but you, on your bio that I was reading, what do you mean by revolutionizing the meaning of pro-life? What does that encompass?
Well, it's something that I have been passionate about for over 20 years since I got involved, which is changing the conversation and the way people view the pro-life person. And at Save the Storks, that's what we're doing. We're revolutionizing the way that someone might define who we are in the pro-life movement, because they think of us as the people in front of abortion clinics that are screaming at women and men, you're murderers, or holding up pictures of dead babies and just, you know, telling them they're going to hell, et cetera, et cetera. That is not who we are. We meet people at that point of decision with love, compassion, and the action we put behind it is we're going to help them with the resources they need, that they need when they choose life. And we have what's called Stork Buses. Our Stork Buses are medical mobile units that we partner with the pregnancy resource centers. They're all over the country. So we'll partner with them, help them build their mobile medical bus. They park them in front of abortion clinics, on college campuses, churches, and they offer options counseling, which is you don't have to choose abortion. There are other options available to you with adoption, with parenting, and then because of the relationship with the PRCs and these women, they can then, because they're manning the bus, they can say to these women who choose life, now we can help you with everything that you need, because 4 out of 5 women who step foot on a Stork bus choose life because they see a free ultrasound, they see their baby, they make that connection, and 4 out of 5 don't walk in to those abortion clinics.
Well, I worked for the Pregnancy Crisis Center some years ago, and the young girls would come in and we would show their babies. But we also, and they would say, no, maybe not, I still think I'm going to go through with it. And then we would show what the abortion process looked like, the baby,
Right.
all that happens. And I would say 9 out of 10 after they saw that, they changed their mind. But with myself, I saw it so much and so many times that I was having nightmares and wake up crying, and I had to stop being there because it just killed me to think that women don't know what they're actually doing and what this child goes through during this process.
And I understand that,
So
Sherry.
it
I do.
is-
It's
it was
a tough
tough.
business. It's
Yes,
a tough
it's
work
tough.
to be involved in. And
Yes.
I've been involved 22 years in the pro-life movement, and I've counseled hundreds of women and thousands, really, of women and men as well that I've met who have been affected by abortion. It's not some quick, easy solution that you just forget about.
Right.
It transforms your life, and the woman or man who walks into an abortion clinic is not the same one who walks out. And that's why we've got to educate and share information. Unfortunately, our society is feeding them the lie that it's your body, your choice, and you don't need to worry about how it's going to affect you. Now, I will say this. I am a Christian. I serve a God who does not allow me to not have free will. I can choose to do whatever I want to with my body, with any choice that I make, as a woman can in a pregnancy. So I'm not saying let's take her rights away. Now, if the laws change, great. I haven't been called to fight the laws. But I just want her to be well informed before she walks in.
Right.
So when people look at me and say, I'm pro-choice, I go, well, I'm probably more pro-choice than you are. They don't understand that. But when I explain to them, I want them to have all their options. I want them to know what they are, educate them. And I'm not going to drag her out of an abortion clinic, but by gosh, before she walks in, we want to do whatever we can to make sure she knows what she's about to do could have lasting impact on her life.
Well, see, Victoria, 40 or 50 years ago, we didn't know what you know. We didn't have people like you to come and talk to women and tell them all these things. I, as a young woman 50 years ago, I just thought, you know, it's just a blob.
Right.
But it's not.
No, it's not.
It's life. It's
life.
God put it there, and God put that child there for a reason. And that's one reason I'm so thankful that we have people like you who are willing to say, no, this is a life. Think about it this way. You do have a choice. There are other options. There are alternatives here that you can make. And when I was a young woman and this first came out that you could have an abortion, women didn't understand what happened because, listen, I have heard stories and I've read stories. I've had women on this show that's had abortions, and the mental process that they go through. Some of them hear their baby crying.
It's devastating.
Some people hear them calling mother, mama, and go into severe depression.
Yep.
And, it's really a scary thing because you think, I've killed my baby. And I hate to say that.
No, but it's the facts. It's the facts. You've ended the life of your child. And God created us as women to be nurturers, and we're moms. It's in us. Like with you guys, Roy, for men, you were made to be protectors and to watch over your women and children. So that's why men cannot be forgotten either.
Amen.
Because they may have talked her into it, paid for it, or threatened her to have it. When they actually realize later on, whether it's immediately or years or decades down the road, they're also devastated and haunted by the fact that they didn't protect this child that was their child too. So we've got to talk about them too, because we can't forget that men are hurting as well.
Yeah, you as men, we do feel that, if you're married to somebody or not married to somebody and they're pregnant, and you're thinking, well, it's like Sherry said, back in the 60s, we didn't know our foot from first base, about abortion and stuff. And we thought, well, it's It's just something in there, you know, it's a
Right.
blob of some
Hey, it's
some
an
sort.
easy sell for the multi-billion-dollar abortion industry to say to men and women, there's nothing there. There's, you know, if this is no different than if you had a tumor removed.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It's not going to affect you in any way.
That's
And those
right.
are all lies.
Yeah.
There is lies after lies after lies. But they have a multi-million-dollar industry to protect. So they're going to say whatever they need to.
They're fighting for it tooth and nail, too.
They are, and I'm fighting against them
Against
tooth and
it.
nail as well.
I'll stand for it till the day I die.
will as well.
And I don't know if we should bring this up, but I don't know if you're ever confronted, that you ever talk to these ladies about the little body parts being sold.
They are finding this out on their own. You know, you don't really have, my approach to women is with love and compassion. I want to meet her where she's at, not just talk about the baby, because it isn't just about the baby. It's about her as well. She's just as important as that unborn child. And in an abortion, you know, God forbid when that does happen, and today 3,000 children will be aborted in this country alone.
Awesome.
Those children will immediately be with Christ.
Yes.
But that mother is left here to deal with all of the ramifications of her choice. So we can't forget about her. And that's why at Save the Storks, that's why in the work I've done for 22 years, because I was a prior CEO of pregnancy resource centers. That was my career before I came to Storks for 20 years. I always made sure that my volunteers and staff knew we don't judge these women. We don't condemn them. We love them. Because if they walk out of our office and go to an abortion clinic, I want them to know they can come back here for post-abortion counseling so they don't have to walk around for decades feeling guilty. Shame,
Yes.
and all of that the enemy wants to keep on them and can't walk in their fullness of Christ.
You know, the same thing would be true for a man.
Yes.
If you did it, you know, there'd be guilt. You know, I'd have guilt that I felt, and I wouldn't have, who am I going to talk to? Talk to another guy? I mean,
right.
what's another guy going to tell me?
And I have a great story about that I can tell you as well, about the men.
What do you think about where the church stands with this? Do you feel like the church has kind of failed us a little bit?
No
that they're
question.
in complacency?
If I may be so bold,
Yes.
there's about a handful. I have to beat doors down to get in the churches to speak on Sundays. I should be in a church every single Sunday
Absolutely.
speaking about this issue, but they don't want me to come. It's, oh, I don't want to offend anyone. Oh, I don't. It's time to offend in love when it comes to this issue, especially in an election year like this one.
Right.
Now, I don't get political, but I do not apologize when I say I have become a one-issue voter. If I cannot trust you with the most innocent American, the unborn, how can I trust you with me, my family, or my country?
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter to me about raising taxes, lowering taxes. I want to know, where do you stand on the pro-life issue?
Absolutely. You know, and that is so important, and you see Christian people that don't even take that into account. And I have a dear friend, and I said, how can you possibly vote for someone, a president, that is pro-abortion?
I've never understood it, Sherry. I never will.
How can you do that? You are a Christian, born again. You're going to give an account of your life to God one day, and for this child. But you know what, Victoria? We've got to take a short break. But when we come back, I want you to tell me your story and your book about They Lied to Us. I would like to hear that. So, hey, stay with us. This is so wonderful and so needed. Come back with us here at Friends and Neighbors. We'll be right back with Victoria. Well, welcome back, and we're here, Roy and I, with Victoria Robertson, and I want you to go into about how you got into this line of work of helping women, and some of your story, Victoria. I think that'll be helpful for a lot of the women out here, and men.
Yes. Well, I got involved from my own pain and my own experience. God has literally taken what the enemy meant to destroy me and turned it into good.
Amen. Amen.
And over 30 years ago, I was a single mom with 2 little girls, and my boyfriend and I started dating, and within 9 months into the relationship, I was pregnant. I was struggling very hard with the 2 girls because their father just abandoned us, moved to California to start a business, never helped us emotionally, financially, in any way, just disappeared. And I was terrified when I found out I was pregnant. Now, I wasn't thinking abortion because I had already been pregnant twice, so I knew the outcome of a pregnancy. But when I told my boyfriend that I was pregnant, I didn't get the response I was hoping for. And he easily convinced me that the best thing to do was abortion because we weren't ready for a child. We weren't married yet, which over 30 years ago, I was embarrassed that I was pregnant and not married at that time. And I believed him. And then when I called the abortion clinic in Charlotte, North Carolina, the woman there convinced me as well I'd be really selfish to bring another child into the world when I could barely feed the two I had. And aren't you a good mom? Don't you want to be a good mom to your daughters? And she hit every button that she knew how to do to manipulate me into believing there was nothing there. I was 6 weeks pregnant and that I could forget about this. So on a Saturday morning, I drove myself to the abortion clinic in Charlotte, and immediately afterwards, I knew I'd made the greatest regret and mistake of my life. It changed me. It changed who I was. It changed everything about me, how I viewed myself. I broke up with that boyfriend. We didn't last because 9 out of 10 times where there's an abortion, the couples don't make it. So girls are getting these abortions to think they're keeping their boyfriends or their husbands, but it's a constant reminder of what you've done. So it's too difficult to stay together. I looked at him like, you were supposed to protect me.
Right.
He looked at me, I'm sure, like, I can't believe you actually did it. So it changed our relationship without ever saying a word.
Immensely.
Immensely. And we broke up. And it set me on a 13-year journey of feeling God hated me, that he would reject me. He would never be able to use me. I started smothering my 2 young daughters because I thought he was going to take one of them for what I'd done. And I was always a really good mom. And even afterwards, I was a good mom, but I just wouldn't let them go anywhere. I was terrified.
Were you overprotective?
I was. It was a helicopter mom to the extreme. And I was crippled. I was just crippled until the Lord led me to a pregnancy resource center where I got post-abortion counseling, and it changed my life forever. I went to a post-abortion recovery retreat. It was a 4-day weekend. It was an intensive that changed my life. I was in women's ministry. Before this, I was leading worship at a church of 5,000-7,000 people, and no one knew my secret. And I thought if they knew, they would kick me off the worship team. They would kick me out of church. They wouldn't let me be involved in women's ministry. So no one knew. Then I went through post-abortion counseling. It changed my life. The counselor looked at me and said, now watch what God's going to do with your story, with that mouth, with those gifts and talents you have. He is going to take you all over the world sharing your story. So I know now, 22 years later, that my child did not die in vain. And because of the death of my child in abortion, thousands upon thousands of children they live today because women have heard my story, whether it's online, at a television interview like this one, wherever I am. And after I went through healing, before I wrote my book, They Lied to Us, that you referenced, I felt like once it was published, the father of my child should know. We hadn't spoken in over a decade. I called him up. He immediately recognized my voice. I changed his name in my book, but I wanted him to know I'd written this book. And he began to weep. He said, I've been waiting for this call for over 10 years to beg you for forgiveness for what I made you do, to tell you that it's haunted me all these years, and for 8 years I've been in therapy dealing with the loss of our child. Can you ever forgive me? And in that moment, Sherry, I knew 2 things. One, I still was carrying and harboring unforgiveness towards him, even after going through healing. And I forgave him at that moment. It was such a relief for me because, you know, unforgiveness is like taking poison, but expecting him to die. But the second thing that happened was the Holy Spirit spoke to my heart and said, don't forget about the men, because they're hurting too. This is not just about women. And that's what sent me on my path to making sure that my work did not just include helping women who are post-abortive, but also men who are post-abortive, because they are desperately out there feeling like I have no right to say I've hurt, I paid for it, I made her do it, I threatened her, whatever. It doesn't matter. They deserve God's forgiveness, and they will have it just as well. And they also need post-abortion counseling as well.
That's true, because you carry the guilt. I mean, men carry it just like women do.
Yes, they do.
Guys may not admit
That's powerful.
that, but you carry it because you know you've done something. You actually have had a child murdered.
Yes.
You've taken that life of that individual that God could have used probably in any kind of situation.
You know, the ultrasound was the greatest gift given to the pro-life movement. That's why our Stork buses are so successful with the ultrasound on the bus. When women make that connection and they see their baby, because on the Stork bus, we don't hide the screen like they do at abortion clinics. It is right there. We also have surround sound on the buses, and they hear their baby's heartbeat. Heartbeats change everything. And when they ask, what is that? Is that my baby's heartbeat? What are those? That's a body. Those are arms and legs. At very early pregnancies, we can hear the heartbeat, very early in the pregnancy. And then you can very early see that sac with the baby in it. That's what changes the hearts and minds of these women. But that's also what's going to change the hearts and minds of this country. And people can't plead ignorance any longer when they see an ultrasound and know the truth about what abortion is and isn't. Even abortionists that are turning from the abortion industry are watching these babies fight for their life during an abortion procedure. And some of them are saying, I'm walking away, enough is enough.
Well, we got about 2 minutes, Victoria. Tell me a little bit about They Lied to Us.
They lied to us?
And then I want you to tell me how ladies can get in touch, or men, with you.
Okay. They Lied to Us is a book that I wrote 10 years ago. It's in its 4th print about why women chose abortion, stories of women who had abortions and what they went through up to that decision, how they found healing afterwards, and where they got help. So it's their story. I'm now adding men's stories, so I'm going to have a revised edition coming out very soon. People can men and women can get in touch with me through Victoria@SaveTheStorks.com. You can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. It's R Victoria Robinson on Instagram, just Victoria Robinson on Facebook. You can find me, and I will be happy to help you get that help. I have men who counsel men. I do not counsel the men myself, but I have a team of men who are ready and waiting to help these men. But also all over the country, pregnancy centers have post-abortion counseling that I can hook them up with.
Well, how can we still get your book?
Yes, you can. You can go find my book. It's online. You can find it. It's going to be taken down soon because I'm revising it, and it's going to be re-released in the next couple months. But you'll be able to find it. Just Google Victoria Robinson, pro-life leader. You'll be able to find me.
Well, you know what? Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you. He had it for you, Victoria. God bless you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being here with us on Friends and Neighbors. What a wonderful show. God bless you, and we'll see you next time here on Friends and Neighbors.
Amen.
Well, surprise, we're back. I ended the show a while ago because I was just so caught up with Victoria's story. And I thought at one time when she was saying about her boyfriend and when she called him and he just broke and cried. He had been going through that for 8 years. My mind was just on that, I think. I wanted to be able to comfort him in a sense, you know, because if you think about it, you're both responsible for this child, and you're both responsible for this abortion.
And any guy, you know, that has any heart at all, eventually it's going to come back to him what he did.
Yes.
That he caused the death of a child.
Right.
And to accept that.
And it affects them, I'm sure. Well, it's like Victoria was talking about, what he had been going through for 8 years. And I asked her when we went on break, did she ever really think that he would be going through this guilt and shame and wish that he had not done this? And she said, no, I never realized that. I never realized that men hurt as bad as women do, and, you know, lament over this.
And there's that guilt factor. As a guy, you know, when you sit down and you start thinking about what you did and what you caused, then that's going to ride with you for a lot of years.
Yeah, but you know, I was real thankful about what Victoria said about her baby is in heaven. Her child is in heaven. So that is a comfort. And I want to tell you out there, if there's anyone out there contemplating to have an abortion, please don't do it. You may think you don't have enough money, you're not old enough, or you're going to be ashamed of this, or your parents aren't going to like it, or if you're older, you think I don't need another child at this time. Listen, there's all kind of help out here in this world for women just like you and young women. And I just want to pray for you. We're going to end this show. We're going to end it this time. With Roy and I praying for you, that God would give you direction and that God would have you to save that child's life. Who knows what that child could grow up to become, maybe the President of the United States. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, we just ask for direction and help for these women. In Jesus' name, thank you. We'll see you again next time. Amen. Amen.